This is Epic Book Recaps, a podcast that offers complimentary audio summaries of influential non-fiction books, making learning a smarter experience. Poetics by Aristotle. Issues of translation, interpretation, and perception. Dating back to 335 BC, Aristotle's Poetics is one of history's earliest texts dedicated to literary critique. However, Aristotle's works also faced much scrutiny over the quality of their varying translations, a perspective echoed by translator Joe Sachs. Notably, few approved of Poetics. Skeptics questioned Aristotle's authority to comment on subjects beyond his expertise, particularly concerning the poetic arts. Yet, Aristotle's specialty lay in reflecting on humanity's fundamental concerns, so he could realistically share ideas on any subject. Moreover, many readers struggled with Aristotle's use of the term imitation. Some believed that labeling poetry as an imitation branded the work of poets as fake. Even so, Aristotle's intentions were not malicious. In his view, people can better comprehend and navigate real-life situations by mimicking specific scenarios in their minds. Poetry matters because it serves as the mirror of the complex emotions and truths of our existence. So, let's explore the basic principles of poetic art and Aristotle's perspective. The art of imitation. In his classic treatise, Aristotle explores the essence of poetry. He asserts that all forms of poetry, such as tragedy, comedy, and flute playing, provide a realistic reflection of life. Yet he also outlined three critical ways these forms differ. The in which, medium of imitation. Each form of art has its style of mirroring reality. Painters express themselves through color, dancers use movements, and poets utilize rhythm, language, and harmony. The what object of imitation. Poetry captures individuals in action, imbuing characters with attributes essential for overcoming challenges. The most compelling stories often contain exaggerated personalities, for better or worse. The how mode of imitation. Poets can adopt various perspectives, such as first or third-person narration. They could also portray characters carrying out acts and engaging in activities. Furthermore, poetry has evolved over the years, fueled by humanity's fondness for imitation and fascination with harmony and rhythm. These elements have played pivotal roles in shaping the evolution of poetry. Subsequently, two primary performing arts emerged from this art form: tragedy and comedy. Tragedy originated from dithyrambs, ancient Greek hymns dedicated to Dionysus, the god of wine and fertility, and often accompanied by dance. In contrast, comedy evolved from phallic songs performed during festivals like Phallophoria, known for their satirical nature. Over time, tragedy shifted toward praising noble deeds, while comedy leaned into caricature, portraying human flaws in a ridiculous yet constructive way. The evolution of poetry reflects the evolution of society and societal needs. Thus, poetic art emerged from oral folk traditions, hymns, and myths, gradually evolving into a respected art form. Rather than being defined by false and immoral imitations, poetry became a captivating and enlightening exploration of the human condition. Defining tragedy. Now let's delve into the various genres of poetry, starting with tragedy. Tragedy can be described as a rich portrayal of intense and consequential actions conveyed through elegant language. Moreover, it emphasizes action over narration, aiming to evoke a sense of purification by evoking feelings of compassion and fear in the audience. The characters' traits and decisions are the fundamental triggers of the events described in the tragedy, action, ultimately leading to either success or failure. For a work to be considered a tragedy, 6 crucial elements must be present. Story, character development, thinking, wording, spectacle, song-making. Contrary to common belief, the protagonist isn't the central element of a tragedy. While their actions influence events, they are not solely responsible for every decision or outcome. Thus, it is the actions taken that propel the tragedy forward. Ancient tragedies teach us to embrace the journey, knowing desires and fate often intertwine. In terms of importance, the plot comes before character development, followed by the character's reasoning and eloquence. Spectacle and song-making, while significant on stage, are secondary to the poetic essence of the work. Furthermore, a well-crafted plot must include the following elements. Completeness. The narrative should unfold logically with a clear beginning, middle, and end. Magnitude. The length of the tragedy should be digestible, allowing the audience to grasp its entirety. A transition from misfortune to fortune, or vice versa, should be evident. Unity. All narrative elements should revolve around a central theme or idea. Organization. Every plot element must be indispensable. If a portion of the story is removed but the plot doesn't suffer, it's inherently unnecessary. Likelihood and necessity. Characters' actions should align with what is plausible and necessary within the narrative. Tragedy's blueprint. Let's take a more in-depth look at the framework of a tragic narrative and the key elements that ensure its success. Tragedy typically consists of several structural components. A prologue before the chorus enters. Episodes between choral odes. Exodus to mark the conclusion without any choral ode following it. The choral part that appears between other parts of the tragedy. Success in art, like in all endeavors, relies on a structured foundation to guide its creativity and impact. According to Aristotle, the plots are either simple or complex. The latter differs by elements such as reversals, discoveries, wonders, and suffering. Wonder in a tragedy refers to its potential to evoke fear and pity. For example, unexpected twists deliberately unsettle the audience and can evoke these emotions. These unforeseen developments should feel orchestrated, adding to the impression that they are all part of a larger plan. Although previous translations preferred the term astonishment over wonder, the original Greek word conveys a sense of losing some form of support, rather than merely being stunned. Reversal, or peripeteia, signifies a shift in events toward an opposite outcome. Furthermore, this change should be guided by probability or certainty. Discovery is a transition from ignorance to knowledge. In a tragedy, this shift often involves characters realizing each other's true identities or understanding their roles in various situations. The most potent form of recognition occurs alongside a reversal. Their combination is particularly effective at intensifying the emotional impact on the audience. Inevitably, experiencing reversals and making discoveries in a tragedy almost always results in suffering, such as death or torment. Did you know? Poetics is the oldest philosophical treatise dedicated to literary theory that still exists today. Crafting a character and their fate. As previously mentioned, one of the primary functions of tragedy is to evoke feelings of fear and pity. So it is critical to determine what kind of protagonist and events will evoke these emotions in the audience. The protagonist should represent the golden mean of human nature. Because if a terrible misfortune befalls a decent person, it might incite outrage rather than pity. Conversely, if the protagonist is morally corrupt, the audience might not pity them. Both scenarios fail to evoke the desired emotional response from the audience. Thus, the best solution is to portray an ordinary person of good character who becomes entangled in unfortunate circumstances due to a misstep. Character is that which reveals moral purpose, showing what kind of things a man chooses or avoids. The tragic storyline requires the protagonist to transition from happiness to unhappiness, not vice versa. Further, this transformation must occur due to the hero's huge mistake, not maliciousness. Aristotle outlines 4 essential character traits the poet should strive to achieve: reliability, aptness, lifelike qualities, consistency. Now, let's examine Aristotle's story guidelines. The narrative should both terrify and deeply move the audience, even if the audience is only hearing about the drama unfolding on stage. The conflict should involve characters who share close, significant relationships, be it familial bonds or deep friendships to achieve this. This action can take on different forms. Characters are conscious of their actions and the ensuing consequences. Characters act unaware of the gravity of their deeds, only grasping the truth later. Protagonists realize the dire repercussions of their actions moments before carrying them out, creating uncertainty about whether the act will happen. In storytelling, the worst scenario is planning an action but never carrying it out. Language of tragedy. Visualization is one of the most crucial steps in the poet's work. It allows the author to see the story, improve the narrative structure, and eliminate logical or consistent flaws. Poets should first build the story's skeleton, the plot, and then fill it with episodes to expand the tale. Fundamentally, every tragedy consists of a build-up and resolution. The build-up often covers events leading up to and including the climax, marking the transition from joy to sorrow, while the resolution unfolds from this pivotal moment to the end. Furthermore, a tragedy should not have an expansive, epic-like framework with multiple subplots. A single, cohesive storyline is enough to drive the action and achieve the desired tragic catharsis. Aristotle distinguishes four main types of tragedy: the complex tragedy, the tragedy of suffering, the tragedy of the character, the simple spectacle. Now let's touch on the interrelationship between thinking and wording. All thinking-related matters capable of being expressed through speech can be divided into the following categories: demonstrating, refuting, presenting passions. Magnifying and minimizing Aristotle also identifies various forms of wording: letters, syllables, connecting words, nouns, verbs, joint words, inflections, phrases. Moreover, words have two forms, simple and double. The former comprises parts that have no meaning when separated, like earth, while the latter can be constructed using the following schemes: one meaningful part plus a non-meaningful part, two meaningful parts. The translator names the second type double, but he later notes that such compound words can also be triple, quadruple, or many-fold later in the text. Additionally, all Greek words are divided into such groups: prevalent, foreign, metaphor, embellished, made up, lengthened, shortened. Altered, every tragedy consists in tying and untying of a knot. Poets' tasks. Aristotle also examines the challenges poets experience in their craft and ways to overcome them, particularly in their endeavor to imitate life. They can achieve this by depicting things as they were or are, demonstrating them as they are perceived or described by others, showing things as they should be. The choice of words lies entirely with the poet, who can use everyday speech, metaphors, foreign terms, or various literary devices to communicate with their audience. When writing the work, the poet can make two kinds of mistakes: essential and accidental. Essential errors stem from poor wording craftsmanship, where the poet fails to find suitable means to convey their ideas effectively. Accidental mistakes concern all other errors that have nothing to do with poetic art, such as depicting anatomically impossible scenarios like a horse raising both of its right legs. Such technical inaccuracies are less important than the inability to craft a compelling literary piece. Additionally, Aristotle defends the latter kind of errors if they serve the essence or purpose of the work without undermining the imitation of reality. Prioritize conveying your message clearly over worrying about technical errors. The essence of your work matters most. The last part of Poetics is devoted to a pressing question of Aristotle's time: which form of imitation is superior, epic, or tragic poetry? Contemporary critics believed that connoisseurs of refined poetry favored the epic genre, while the masses preferred tragedy. The reason for such division was the difference in the performance, especially concerning the expressive gestures used in tragic plays. Nonetheless, Aristotle defends tragedy by saying, epic plays can also suffer from excessive gesturing. Tragedy uses the same form of expression as epic poetry and evokes similar reactions in the audience. A tragic play is superior as it uses various entertainment forms such as declamation, acting, music, and chorus. Over the past 2 millennia, poetic art has significantly evolved. Yet, Aristotle's Poetics continues to guide young creators, laying the theoretical groundwork for the fundamental aspects of literature. Aristotle was the first ancient Greek philosopher to provide a theoretical framework for poetry, establishing it as a valid art form that radically contrasted with the opinions of other philosophers. His work addresses the mechanics of poetry creation and its effect on humanity. The tragic character is an example for the viewers. Their good deeds inspire them, while their bad ones teach them. Thus, Aristotle established the unbreakable bond between man and art. Do this. Think about modern forms. How do they make you feel? Recall the last time a work of art stirred your emotions. Why? Did it help you release any heavy emotions? Try letting go of pent-up feelings through art, and let catharsis serve as a therapeutic purge.